process. They aren't creators.
No, they manage systems, not content.
Most people assume building a high-revenue media channel requires a charismatic host, and expensive production. But right now, the most efficient views and ad revenues are being captured by faceless, black and white stick figures generated in bulk.
You really have to look at this from a systems perspective. What we're analyzing today is a highly successful, fully automated workflow from 2026, designed specifically to mass-produce finance content.
Right. The operators running these channels are entirely detached from the traditional creative process. They aren't creators.
No, they manage systems, not content. And to understand this, we need to break down exactly how this tech stack operates, piece by piece.
Let's define the parameters first so you understand exactly what we're looking at. This is a workflow utilizing 100% free artificial intelligence tools. It's engineered to scale content creation to the exact point where a single operator can generate an entire month's worth of videos in a single day.
Which is staggering leverage, especially since they are executing this entire pipeline with zero manual video editing skills.
None whatsoever. So today, we're going to deconstruct the specific tool stack, the psychological incentives driving the viewer attention, and finally, what the systemic consequences are when you deploy this exact automated workflow at scale.
Let's start with the first phase of the workflow, the research and data processing, because there's a distinct shift happening here.
Yeah, operators are aggressively moving away from standard open-ended interfaces like ChatGPT for their primary research. Instead, the entire foundation of the system relies on Google's Notebook LM.
And the methodology is highly structured. Think about how this changes standard research. Traditionally, creator sits down, reads articles, watches other videos, and synthesizes a perspective.
But here, the operator begins by utilizing a specific browser extension designed to scrape resources from existing, highly successful YouTube channels.
Exactly. They are not asking an AI to just guess what works out in the void. They are capturing the exact transcripts, titles, and structural data of proven videos.
And then that scraped data is directly uploaded into Notebook LM as a foundational resource. They are essentially building a custom, a micro database of successful content.
When we tested research workflows, relying on general large language models always introduced noise. Feeding targeted scraped data into a closed system like Notebook LM completely changes the signal-to-noise ratio.
It really does. Notebook LM is then instructed to analyze these specific resources and output unique video topics tailored strictly to the finance niche.
You bypass the hallucination problem by restricting the processing entirely to a provided, proven dataset. You're operating purely on signal.
However, the source material indicates a critical pivot right after this topic generation phase. While Notebook LM is excellent for data synthesis, it has this strict tendency to directly copy the source resources when asked to write a full script.
Right, you cannot monetize a direct transcript clone. So to solve this, the operator moves the workflow over to GenSpark.
GenSpark acts as the specialized scripting engine in this stack. The operator takes the topics generated by Notebook LM and feeds them into GenSpark using a highly engineered prompt.
And the resulting script is incredibly thoughtful. It's relatable, meticulously structured for viewer retention, but, and this is key, the actual text of the script is only the first half of GenSpark's utility in this system.
This is where the workflow introduces a translation layer. It's a critical, often overlooked pattern. The operator does not simply take that script and move to audio production.
No, GenSpark is immediately utilized a second time within the exact same window.
A new prompt is applied, instructing the artificial intelligence to read the script it just wrote and translate it into scene-by-scene visual descriptions.
The engine is engineered to parse a 5 to 10 minute script and output a massive text file containing dozens, sometimes hundreds, of specific visual prompts.
It completely automates the storyboarding process. It ensures that every single sentence of the script has a corresponding visual cue ready for generation.
You are effectively replacing the human director with a text parsing algorithm.
And this massive text file is what gets fed into the factory floor of this operation. That factory floor is a specialized extension called AutoISK.
AutoISK functions as the bulk generation bottleneck solver. The operator pastes the entire text file of scene prompts into the AutoISK sidebar.
And to ensure the visuals match the specific aesthetic required, the operator uploads a single reference image into the subject and style parameter.
In this specific workflow, that reference image is a simple black and white stick figure.
AutoISK then runs completely autonomously. It processes every single prompt in the text file, applies the stick figure reference style to each one, generates the image, and downloads all of the scenes directly to the operator's local drive in bulk.
You literally set the parameters and the machine executes the labor. Because the real bottleneck in AI video isn't generating images, it's consistency and volume.
Which is incredibly hard to maintain manually.
Exactly. By feeding a massive text file of prompts into AutoISK and anchoring it with a single reference image, the system locks in character consistency across hundreds of scenes simultaneously. You eliminate the standard generative drift, where characters change appearance from frame to frame.
So we aren't looking at video production anymore. We are looking at the automated batch processing of visual data.
The efficiency of that batch processing is what creates the financial leverage. We really have to look at the incentives driving operators to build these specific systems in the first place.
And the primary target is the personal finance and emotional self-help niche.
The financial metrics attached to this niche are uniquely high. According to the source analysis, channels utilizing this exact stick figure format are pulling in between $3,000 and $9,000 per month.
And these revenues are being generated by audiences of roughly 124,000 subscribers. It's highly efficient.
That revenue scale is a direct result of the high revenue per mil, or RPMs, inherent to finance content. Advertisers are willing to pay a massive premium to reach viewers who are actively interested in banking, budgeting, and financial planning.
The automation system is simply a vehicle designed to capture that high RPM ad spend at the absolute lowest possible cost of production.
But this raises a vital operational question about the system's visual design. If an operator has access to advanced image generators capable of creating anything, I mean literally anything, why choose a black and white stick figure?
Why not generate hyper-realistic avatars or highly polished three-dimensional animations?
The source material provides a fascinating psychological explanation for this specific choice. It notes that from early childhood, human beings are socially and biologically conditioned to focus their attention on a whiteboard.
A teacher stands at a whiteboard, draws simple stick figures to explain complex concepts, and we are trained to sit quietly and absorb that information. I remember seeing this firsthand in educational tech. Strip away the high-fidelity graphics, and user retention actually spikes because the brain recognizes the whiteboard as a biological cue to learn. It signals authority and simplicity.
So the simplest visuals hold the highest retention.
Yes. By utilizing a bare-bones stick figure template, these creators are exploiting our childhood conditioning to pay attention to a whiteboard. The visual friction is reduced to zero, allowing the viewer to focus entirely on the core message.
High production value is actually a distraction. Optimal viewer retention comes from cognitive familiarity, not visual complexity.
Because when you present a viewer with a hyper-realistic artificial avatar, their brain spends processing power trying to determine if it's real or fake.
The uncanny valley creates distance, but a stick figure creates immediate cognitive acceptance.
And this psychological anchor is meticulously reinforced by the audio layer of the workflow. While AutoISK is generating the visual data, the operator simultaneously feeds the GenSpark script into Gemini's text-to-speech engine.
The system explicitly utilizes a voice profile called Puck.
The source highlights a specific output from this voice to demonstrate its effectiveness. The script reads, "You know that exact feeling when your paycheck hits your account. It's like Christmas morning. You open your banking app, the number looks healthy, and then by Wednesday, it's like the money got raptured. Rent, car payment, insurance, groceries."
The pacing and tone of that Puck profile are designed to sound highly conversational. Tired, empathetic. It does not sound like a broadcaster. It sounds like a peer.
When you pair an empathetic, human-sounding voice describing universal financial stress with the visual cue of a simple whiteboard stick figure, the viewer's guard drops entirely.
They don't feel like they're watching a highly engineered content farm. They feel like they are receiving personal advice from a peer who understands their exact financial anxiety.
So once the raw materials are generated, the bulk scenes from AutoISK and the finalized audio file from Gemini, the workflow enters the assembly line phase.
The operator imports all of these digital assets into a free editing software, specifically CapCut.
The assembly process is almost entirely automated at this stage. The operator simply drops the audio track onto the timeline and uses basic alignment tools to match the downloaded batch of stick figure scenes to the pacing of the voiceover.
It's basically a drag-and-drop exercise requiring no actual editing nuance.
But there is a deeply overlooked incentive hidden right here in this final editing phase.
The source explicitly instructs operators to add smooth fade transitions between the static images and to apply highly kinetic auto captions across the center of the screen.
This is initially framed as a basic way to make the static stick figure images look, more alive. However, this is not merely an aesthetic choice.
No, it is a highly deliberate systemic tactic designed to bypass platform gatekeepers.
Adding motion via transitions and dynamic text via auto captions is a proven method to ensure bulk-generated content passes smoothly through automated monetization policies.
Because unedited, static-generated images risk being flagged as repetitive or low-effort content by platform algorithms. YouTube, for example, heavily polices channels that just display slideshows.
Right. The fade transitions and the moving captions mathematically alter the video file. They act as a cryptographic signature of human effort, satisfying the platform's baseline requirements for original, edited media.
The machine is effectively tricked into recognizing the output as human-directed video rather than a static image dump.
The system then closes the loop with a final packaging polish designed strictly for maximum click-through rates. The operator returns to GenSpark and asks the artificial intelligence to generate a detailed prompt for a thumbnail image.
Incorporating the specific core theme of the video, that resulting text prompt is then pasted into a Google image generation tool called AutoISK.
Crucially, the operator uploads the exact same stick figure reference image used earlier in AutoISK into AutoISK's subject parameter.
In a single click, the tool generates a high-quality branded thumbnail that perfectly matches the aesthetic of the final video. The visual identity remains completely unbroken from the first generated scene to the final packaging.
Simultaneously, the operator continues the existing GenSpark chat thread, instructing the engine to generate 10 click-worthy titles and a fully optimized search engine description.
The operator selects the best variations, uploads the completed video file, and the production cycle is complete.
What you are observing here is the management of an automated supply chain.
The operator is not a creator in any traditional sense. They are an assembly line manager. They oversee a network of specialized artificial agents.
Notebook LM for research and synthesis, GenSpark for structuring and translation, Gemini for audio simulation, AutoISK for visual batching, and AutoISK for optimized packaging.
And by successfully chaining these specialized agents together into a frictionless pipeline, the operator fundamentally alters the economics of media.
They bring the marginal cost of a finalized, highly optimized video entirely down to zero.
Which brings us to the broader systemic consequences of this workflow. If an operator can create 1 month of high-retention content in one single day for $0, the traditional barrier to entry has completely evaporated.
We are entering an era of absolute content saturation, where the volume of media is restricted only by compute power, not by human labor.
But there's a massive strategic risk embedded in this saturation that these operators are currently ignoring. It relates directly back to the very first step of the entire workflow.
The system is entirely dependent on feeding existing successful channels into Notebook LM to generate the foundation for the new scripts.
A closed loop.
Total automation creates a closed loop of information. Because the workflow explicitly feeds existing channel resources into the research tool to generate new scripts, no net new insights are being created.
The system is entirely cannibalistic. It relies on a diminishing pool of original human thought to fuel its generative outputs.
This is algorithmic arbitrage.
The artificial intelligence is simply repackaging and reacting to other AI-generated financial advice, creating an echo chamber of identical information. You are extracting value from the platform without injecting any new knowledge back into the ecosystem.
And the stick figure template, the empathetic voice profiles, the relatable scripts about disappearing paychecks, these patterns will inevitably flood the platform.
When thousands of automated channels are scraping each other, analyzing each other, and generating the exact same visual and auditory cues, the cognitive familiarity that currently drives viewer retention will inevitably transform into cognitive fatigue.
The whiteboard effect only works until the viewer realizes every single whiteboard is displaying the exact same manufactured empathy.
The operational reality of this moment is stark. The artisanal creation of niche media has been successfully replaced by highly leveraged, faceless batch processing.
The specific artificial agents running this pipeline will undoubtedly evolve and become more sophisticated, but the underlying system of extracting high ad rates through zero-cost automated workflows is permanently established.
The infrastructure is built.
If infinite, highly retentive content can be generated and monetized at zero marginal cost, what ultimately happens to the value of the information itself?